In January of 2024, Lexi arranged for Melanie Davis to present a workshop on the thoughtful process of preparing and leading a worship service. Tyler, Ed, Chris, Amy, and I participated. By the end, we had each crafted a Sunday hour centered on a personal story or perspective through the lens of our shared UU values. Something else was happening at the same time. New to this congregation, I asked Reverend Anne Marie why we did not have a worship team and what was going to happen when she left soon, with none of the summer services booked. There had been a loose plan to join TUS, the Unitarian Society of Brunswick, on video services, but when I contacted them, they were also looking at an empty schedule. Anne Marie's response to why don't we have a worship team was, why don't you start one? At first, I was reluctant. I had been on the worship team for 5 years in my previous congregation and knew it would be enriching and rewarding and how much weekly work it is. I also didn't really know anyone here, so when I agreed to the task, I turned to the most likely individuals, those who were taking the shared pulpit class. Each said no, quickly and assuredly, when I asked them to join the team. I understood their reluctance. Certain committees in congressional life can seem more like black holes than glowing opportunities. I didn't want to do this job myself, so I didn't give up. And thankfully, they eventually said yes. After making a broader appeal to the congregation, Missy Staples signed on, and Jenny Belmonte joined with the important role of connecting what we do in worship with what is happening in RE. There is a relationship there. By spring, we had a team. More importantly, the summer schedule was filled with our shared pulpit work. We spent a few months tackling the worship schedule, providing music when Will and the choir are not performing, and submitted our first budget proposal. We started feeling like a team. Earlier this year, we had a retreat and developed a covenant and mission statement. And today, we present this work not for a pat on the back, but to involve you, the most important component of any Sunday service. We need you to be part of the conversations we have every week. This dialogue starts with someone speaking from the pulpit. What happens with those words is completely in your hands. So this is the beginning of our mission and covenant statement. The UUCSH Worship Committee seeks to further the UUCSH's mission to explore spirituality, engage community, and transform the world through our worship ministry. Our goal is to partner with our minister and professional staff, as well as our members and partner churches, to create worship that reflects our shared values and aligns with our Unitarian Universalist beliefs.
We believe that worship is a space where individuals can explore their own spiritual journey, encounter the sacred, and connect with the universal values of Unitarian Universalism. An integral part of our UU identity and a vital expression of our shared purpose. A way of honoring our history, our heritage, and our ancestors. A time for families to live into their belief while creating meaningful memories. A place to ground ourselves and nourish our spirit as we foster a sense of belonging. A chance to welcome people by answering the question, what sort of church is this?
Worship services should honor the experience of our minister, speakers, and professional staff as we raise up what's important in a way that is uniquely our own. Nourish the spirit and stimulate the intellect using diverse forms of expression such as music, media, storytelling, meditation, and reflection. Represent a wide variety of voices and consciously center voices of marginalized peoples. Celebrate many ways of expressing spirituality and higher purpose. Nurture and educate the children and youth of our congregation. Nurture and educate the children and youth and our congregation. Integrate music in many forms that invites participation and encourages expression. Appeal to all who join us, whether young or old, friend or stranger, online or in person, and demonstrate our ongoing commitment to social justice. Worship is a weird word for us, right? I've had people ask, because I say I'm on worship committee, I'm going to Sunday worship. Well, Tyler, you're an atheist. What do you worship? The origin of the word worship means that something has worthiness. So what is worthy of my worship? It isn't any god or gods. So for me, worship means holding up our community as something worthy of our attention, love, reverence, and worship. This community is what I dedicate myself to when I'm here on Sundays, on Zoom, in person, and from the pulpit.
Covenant. It's a word we think that we all know what it means, most of us who are here. Does anyone want to raise their hand and tell us what they think a covenant is? A special agreement. Anyone else have a thought on what a covenant is? To summarize, a document that's a group of agreements or rules that people hold themselves to agree and abide by as they interact together, right? Close? Okay. Anyone else? People pledge themselves to work together to achieve common goals. So we all have a little bit of a different definition of what covenant is, but generally speaking, it kind of overlaps, right? And that's mostly the same as our lived experiences. We are all individuals. None of us have a singular, shared, completely identical experience with someone else. And because of that, we bring our own uniqueness into our gathering when we gather together in a space. With this, sometimes we may have different ideas of what we perceive something to be. And that is why, in the beginning of a group, we covenant. We create a covenant. A covenant is both a noun and a verb. And the covenant is not only the agreement we make, but the act of doing so together. All of our RE classes start off the year, or whenever, sometimes it's summer, with a covenanting exercise. We explain what a covenant is. It doesn't matter if they're kindergartners or high schoolers. We explain exactly each time, because sometimes we have newcomers amongst us who may not be as familiar with what a covenant is. So we start that process, we work together, we make it more a list of do's than don'ts, because let's face it, none of us really like to be told what not to do, right? And we very specifically emphasize that it is not a list of rules. It is a list of actions that we agree to do together. And sometimes we don't agree on what that means. And we go back to our covenant and we review. Oh, that's what that means. Oh, yeah. We have like, one that's commonly in covenants is step up and step back. It means speak your piece, but make room for others. And sometimes people are a little wordy. I'm going to wrap it up here, speaking of which. And, sometimes if someone's taking a little too long, sometimes you just do a gentle reminder. It's maybe time to step back and let someone else speak up. And we do this gently and with love, because just as we create covenants, the UUA's values and bylaws are what's called a living document, and so is a covenant. It is not static. It changes with the needs. And to emphasize this, in our RE classes, after the first session, we're not done with the covenant. We actually review it a few times throughout our classes, and we say, because sometimes we have newcomers, and they didn't agree to this, and they don't know what we're operating under. So we continue to review. So sometimes, those of us who've been making covenants for a while are like, we know what that is. We're not going to do that. We understand what a covenant is. But we're all individuals bringing our own individual experience in. And wouldn't it be better to talk about what that means as we perceive it together? Anyway, I went a little backwards. I said what I felt about covenants before I went to go on and do what our worship covenant is. So, our worship covenant, we covenant to hold love at the center in our work together, in our planning, and in our worship. Honor the freedom of the pulpit as we speak truth to power. Provide a safe haven and an accessible experience for all. We covenant to work together to recognize and celebrate the gifts of all. We covenant to hold each other accountable for supporting our work together. And we covenant to invite members of our congregation to be active participants so that we may grow in faith and create more beauty, justice, and peace in the world.
Kind of cool to hear the mission statement resaid out loud. It's that review process you talked about. So my part is a statement of commitment. We, the worship committee, commit to the goals of working with the minister to create worship themes that excite and engage, seeking feedback to foster a process of constant improvement, reaching out to different members and friends of all kinds to include many voices, utilizing all of our resources to provide worship that somehow extends beyond Sunday and beyond the walls of UUCSH. Our vision as a committee is to celebrate worship in a way that invites all people in, creates a shared sense of safety and community, lifts us, and empowers us together to change the world. Just that's easy, right? It's a heck of an ambitious mission statement, but I think there was a lot of passion in our retreat. There was a lot of excitement when we got together and started that, well, what is worship? What's it for? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? And the retreat was a great one, and I think that the mission statement that you heard today, that came out of it, is one that I believe in, and it's one that we all believe in. Every line of it, every word, reading it over again was a great experience. At its best, worship is and should always be something special, yet also something expected and routine. A celebration, but one that has a sense of coming home to the familiar. When we in the worship committee do our job right, the table is set, the meal is prepared on time, and the attendees, that's you folks, feel as welcome as if you were coming home. Coming to our spiritual home. And again, I'm with Tyler on this. As an atheist, I do not say that word lightly, but I mean it deeply. But still, a spiritual home, but one that should feel comfortable. As an Italian American, I've always equated coming home with, do you want something to eat? Sit down right here at the table. So we, at worship, we set the table, we arrange the chairs, but we do so in a way that says there's always more room at this table. And that's the key to our vision statement. It's not a vision for us as a committee, but for all of us as a congregation. It's when you join us every week in creating that sense of community that transforms this room from something mundane to something sacred. It lifts it up to be something larger, something deeper and more spiritual than Saturday or Thursday or Wednesday. That's what we truly mean by worship. And it's the sacred community that we hope to someday extend beyond this congregation. When we say put love at the center, we mean the center of this room, but the center of our work, our ministry, and our world. Having done that, we, the worship committee, are truly prepared to celebrate worship in a way that invites all people in, creates a shared sense of safety and community, lifts us, and empowers us to change the world.